pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Whenever you're ready, please.
All right, I will roll call. Tom Roche.
Here.
Ella Collins. Here. John Guglielmo was not going to be here. Tim Clark.
Here.
Taylor Boucher was not going to be here. Audra All. And Sarah Bashinsky.
Need a motion for the acceptance of the agenda this evening.
Motion.
Tim? Audra? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda is accepted. Turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for all who came today. Our recognition of success, we have two today. One is for our bowling team, our Flying Forts bowling team, who went 47-1 this past season. They placed 9th out of 26 in our sectionals. And we'd also, before I hand out the first certificate, is we want to congratulate the team, but as well as we want to congratulate Coach Nelson Chase, who is retiring at the end of this year. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about his career just for a minute as we recognize the students quick. 20 seasons of bowling with a winning percentage of 75%, 9 league wins, 7 league tournament wins, 3 sectional titles, and 2 section runner-ups. So, and just as a side note, he started our inaugural last year unified bowling team, and this year they were the Section 2 champs. So, thank you, Mr. Chase. Congratulations to our bowlers on an outstanding season. It is tough to be a student athlete, especially nowadays with a lot going on. So I appreciate the juggle that you did, the commitment you gave to bowling, and your success this season. So one more time, congratulations. And you got it. There you go. I'll read them off and you can hand them. That'd be good. Cameron Brayman. When you come up, just start over there, shake some hands, and come around, because the next one is Preston Buick.
I forgot I was bowling.
Nice job. You go around. Gabe Glass. Oliver Clark. Congratulations. Benji Davis.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. James Keeley. And again, Coach Nelson Chase, and we did have a volunteer assistant this year in Ms. Krista Brett. So thank you to those. Now for our second recognition of success, we'd like to congratulate the following students for getting their artwork published in the Talented Unlimited Journal and that will be exhibited in May in Saratoga Springs. So if I mispronounce your name, please correct me. So for their artwork, The Adventure, Kylan Wilbur. For their artwork, Her Perfume, Pine Parfait, Maharet Monroe. For their artwork, Childhood Memories Drowning, Spencer Smith. For Halloween Shenanigans, Maddie Birch. For their artwork titled Family, Daisy Stark. And for their artwork titled Puppy Love, Ella Dayton. Thank you. Oh, we also like to thank our art teacher, Mrs. Schilling, who couldn't be here tonight due to an issue at her home. So thank you for her leadership in those and getting that artwork recognized and displayed.
Is there any comments?
I do not have any.
So I'm getting used to this technology. Our first presentation is with BOCES this evening. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Trina Parker. I'm the proud district superintendent of Washington, Sarasota, Warren, Hamilton, Essex, BOCES. Hi, everyone. We're so pleased to be here this evening to talk to you a little bit about our programs. It is our favorite thing to do, is to talk about all the pathways and opportunities that we provide to students. And so we have a few of your students here this evening who's going to talk a little bit about their experiences. And then we're in a time of transformation. You may be aware that we recently engaged in developing a strategic plan for our organization. So you have in front of you a summary of our strategic plan, Future Focus. And after the students are done, we'll watch a brief video just kind of outlining and summarizing our plans for the future. So thank you. Without further ado, we'll get to the best part of the night. So hear our students talking about their plans.
Hello, everybody. Tony Muller, Senior Executive Officer. I know I've spent a lot of quality time in your district and always happy to be here. It's the first time I've been in the library. So I'm going to, I can talk for 3 hours, but I know the students talk for 3 hours. The students come on up, I'm going to let them in. And we actually have one student who's working, so I'm going to make him walk. The good thing about our student internship is very inexpensive. Okay, so we're going to talk about program with 3 students, and they'll start by introducing themselves, their name, their grade, and the program that you're in.
Hello, I'm Zoe O'Connell. I am in grade 12, and I'm in the criminal justice program.
Hi, my name is Ashton Leggett. I'm in grade 12 and I'm in the IT program.
My name is Preston Bulick. I am also a senior and I'm in the advanced manufacturing program.
So the IT networking program and the advanced manufacturing program are our early college career academy programs that are housed at SUNY Adirondack and Queensbury, and our criminal justice program is housed at our Southern Adirondack Education Center. So, I'm going to just kind of get them chatted a bit. Why did you choose to go to BOCES?
I chose to go to BOCES because I've always had an interest in the criminal justice system, and I feel that it is very important to have a safe community, safe for not only our peers, but for people that we may not even know, because any distress that may cause anybody could affect us in some way, shape, or form. So I've always wanted to create a safer environment for everyone.
I joined the IT program because someone has to work with all the technologies some people don't really know how to use, or create networks that a lot of people don't really know anything about. And it is very important in the growing society that we have today.
And I joined advanced manufacturing because I've always had an interest in engineering, and a lot of that has to do with my older brother, who also had he felt he always wanted to be an engineer. So I kind of wanted to follow in his footsteps. This was a great opportunity to go there and earn college credits to, help me ahead of a lot of other students who only just have ordinary high school classes. So it was a great way to get ahead in the field as well.
Preston, tell us a little bit about your program. This part talk about like the
So in advanced manufacturing, we have a bunch of different types of really expensive robots that we use. We have a lathe that we machine our parts. We have a lot of 3D printers, just a lot of machines that we use for our projects, which we have 2 projects each quarter out of the 4 quarters. And it's just utilizing the machines and robots to build things, and just a lot of different things that relate to the manufacturing field, or engineering field in general. That's the main thing we do in our classes, just use the robots for the projects, build stuff.
Give us an example of one of your projects.
last year we had a chess piece project, so we had to use our lathe and our milling machine to make 32 chess pieces a full set. So we had to design in a program called Inventor. So we actually have to draw the prototypes, I guess, on our computers, and then we have to connect our computers to the robots, which then actually make them.
In the IT program, we focus a lot on building networks and what runs the school Wi-Fi. And last year, we spent a lot of time learning the basics of it. This year, we just did a project where we're now making a network for a medical center. We're using a lot of medical software, and we have to do the budgeting inside that too. So
What about some of the projects that what did you do last year, starting with computers?
we started out just learning about like the cables and what goes into a computer. We had basic, just bare bone computers, and we had to build them up in order to run in a global software and run them.
In criminal justice, we do a whole lot of paperwork, and we mainly learn about the steps that it takes to actually go through and get victim statements, and then go to trial, and what happens, or what happened during trial, and what happened afterwards with conviction. We have gone through doing arrest reports, we have taken fingerprints, we have taken DNA swabs. We've also gone through the probably the traffic stop and to arrest somebody. We did a 14-paragraph essay on school shootings and why they happened, and how some of them may be very similar, how they may be different. And right now, we are working on an essay of a victim statement.
You actually get to police the parking lot too, right? So that helps people identify what's going on.
Yes, we do campus patrol sometimes, where we go around the closest parking lot, and we check registrations, and we give courtesies, and we check to make sure they have their parking, their parking passes, which some don't. And then we basically can just issue tickets, use the radios, and take notes.
And I know many staff members have been very appreciative that they found out that their inspection is overdue for just about. 6 months in advance. Now, in each of the classes, so with the early college career candidate, they take college classes that count towards high school credits as well. And in our CTE programs, students get a credit of ELA and a credit of math over the 2 years, so they have a credit each year. And there's also work-based learning and certifications, so lump it all into one. So I go ahead and talk about your ELA and math and the work-based learning.
So in ELA, we usually do resumes and how to use formal language when doing paperwork and stuff like that. That victim statement that I talked about earlier, we are currently working on that as a DLA assignment. And for math, we have recently been doing time of death calculations, and before that, we were doing skid marks. And then before that, we were doing bullet trajectories, which is a painful process, and it takes a very long time. Yeah. And we did a blood splatter lab, where we had to measure blood in the air and drop fake blood on pieces of paper, measure them, and then calculate at which angle they came from.
And the certifications then?
There is the most prominent certification that you can get is at the end of the year, which is your IFPO exam, which is the International Foundation of Protection Officers. That makes you nationally certified to work anywhere in the United States as a security officer. And you can also get certifications for, you can get another security guard certification, and first aid and CPR certifications, which also tie into what you may have to do as a police officer.
In the IT program, for our English classes, we just finished a For our certifications, my program has two. The first one we did last year is called the CompTIA A+, and that is the basics of any sort of IT work. And it just learns you the bare basics. If you have that, it's a big step into getting into the field. The one that we're taking this year and we're going towards is the Network Plus. And what that certification does, it shows basically any company that you know how to work and run a network perfectly fine. So it helps a lot with getting into the field.
Just talk a little bit about the networking classes, the computer classes.
In the networking classes, we have done a few labs working on racks with switches and routers. So we created wireless networks, created wired networks, and there's a lot that goes into it. It takes a few days to make, but after all of that, it's like riding a bicycle. You learn it once and you just get it going.
So in advanced manufacturing, last year we had a math class, which there were two. You could test out of one. So I took a statistics class, and this year the advanced manufacturing class and the IT classes have a few. We share a few of the same classes. So I'm in his introduction to public speaking class, and we also had introduction to college writing together. And as far as the classes that we take that are related to manufacturing. Last year, we had kind of like a history kind of like inventions and stuff, so kind of like a introduction to like manufacturing, like history, I guess. So just learn through the centuries and learn about different creations and inventions that evolved into what they are today. We also had a networking class, and then this year we have an electrical class, so we're learning about all the different electrical components. And, there's a lot of that relates to manufacturing field, electricians and whatnot. So those are our classes that we take, and as far as our certifications go, we have our MSSE certifications. There's 4 total. We took 2 last year, and then we take 2 this year. At the end of every other quarter. And what those do is when we take an exam for each of the 4, and if we pass them, I believe if we get a passing score for all 4 of them, I believe it just allows us to get like an entry-level manufacturing field job for really any business.
And you'll be a certified production tech, which is very marketable for anyone that is And tell us why was this interested in?
I think it was a great choice for me because it puts me ahead of so many other high school kids. It's just such a great opportunity to start earning college credits early, because that allows you to get out of college earlier and start making money, getting into your actual job a lot earlier than the ordinary person. So it's just a great opportunity, and it allows you to get hands-on as well, that most ordinary high school classes don't allow you to do. So it's a great opportunity because you get different types of learning, and you get to see what you enjoy, what you like, and there's the head start of getting college credits. So it's really a win all around. So it's a great opportunity.
I took the Mercy's course because I think, like Preston said, I think it's a great head start for a lot of high school students. It saves a lot of college money on when you go enroll into college afterwards. And being able to get the certifications at a young age shows your employer that you're really determined for the field that you're going into. So that's why I took it.
I chose to go to Mercy's because I wanted to be able to choose a career path. I really wanted to find something that I could see myself doing in the future, see myself doing it for a long time, and see myself doing it.
question. Your favorite part and your future plans?
My favorite part of my BOCES program is probably the opportunities that we get to meet, and just all around the type of people that you surround yourself with. Very funny people. We have a lot of stories, and they're very entertaining stories, and it allows me to have a lot of opportunities that not a lot of kids my age have. And my future plans is to go to SUNY Public School to take my canine training and management program.
My favorite part about my program is the opportunity of the internships that we're allowed to get. Working here at Fort Edward, it's been amazing. Learned a lot out of it, and I'm very grateful for being able to come here and work here a lot. So having that head start really helps someone getting in and getting used to the field. My future plans is to go back to SUNY Adirondack to finish my cybersecurity degree and then go transfer into a forensics degree.
My favorite part is kind of a combination of both. You get to meet a lot of new people, make new friends, make new connections. And that also has to do with the internships and job shadowing too, because we have people come in from different companies to talk to us. We have a few field trips throughout the year, and that's really great for making connections and good business partners so that you have somewhere to go. You have an idea of where you could get a job because you have these good connections with people in the field that you're going for. So that's a great opportunity to have that most kids don't, is that you have a lot of good connections. And for my future plans, I hope to continue down the engineering field like my brother did. But I'm looking to move. My sister really wants to move to Australia or down south. So I'm eventually going to move out of New York, and I hope to find an engineering job wherever I move. And that could help with all the connections I'm making, because a lot of businesses know each other. Those people know another person. So as you go through the program, making all of these connections is great to, for really wherever you go, there's going to be someone who knows someone else. So it's just making those connections is a really great opportunity to have for wherever you plan on doing.
And so, did you remember?
I recently, on March 1st, did an internship with Washington County Probation with David Boucher, and it was a interesting experience, being in the office where obviously people who have committed various crimes come and meet with their officers, and they do all the lie detector tests. I was able to listen in on a meeting. To say the least, they do a lot more. It's kind of an officer and kind of therapist and everything else in the law enforcement field combined into one singular job. They go to court, they meet with people, they write statements, and they do pretty much everything that has to go with the criminal justice system, along with trying to keep people out of the system.
Questions from the board?
Really proud of you guys. It's excellent.
Yeah.
Programs, what you guys described it to us was fantastic. All great fields that you guys are getting in, so great job.
Thank you. Nice job. So,
Okay, so let's go back to work.
I know that there is no doubt in the minds of anyone in this room that these students will absolutely be successful, and that really is due to your commitment to supporting your students in every way possible. We can't take credit for their fabulousness because we just got here 2 weeks ago. Our job is to just provide the opportunities that you put in front of them. So just wanted to take an opportunity to thank you because this wouldn't happen otherwise. We also have with us Dan Petresco, who is representing our board this evening, and David Ashdown, who is our Director of Technology and oversees the business services in our school support services division. what you hear from the upcoming video is how vast our organization is. It touched my heart when you talk about Talent Unlimited, because that has been a project that we've been engaged in for many years, and it really is special to see the students and all the work that they've done into the artwork and putting that publication together for them. And so without further ado, strategic plan.
I love, and probably one of the things that I'm most proud of, is the fact that our BOCES is visionary, and that our vision really is to be a trusted leader. And when you think about being a trusted leader in education, a trusted leader in innovation, a trusted leader in workforce development, it really starts with that key component of trust.
I think the overall picture of the strategic plan is this idea of doing a comprehensive review of all our programs and all the services that we offer districts and the communities we serve, and how do we move those into the next several years. The idea of being future focused for each student in a 360-degree view of all their needs, while also supporting staff and creating an environment where people want to come to work.
I think the important thing about a strategic plan really is just providing that focus. It's really thinking about each person who works for our organization, you know, the ability is something to connect with, building that common language and purpose around the work that we do.
I feel like the mission creates more of a team environment, that we all have a focus for our mission and our day-to-day lives at BOCES.
I am so proud of our strategic plan, because what it does is it really gives us an opportunity to be future focused for our students and to have a framework for the type of environment that we want to provide for our students for the years ahead. And so when I think about our strategic plan, at the core of that, one of our biggest priorities in our plan is the student experience. And so one of our primary goals is to enhance the student experience through service, through high quality academics, and through our instructional objectives.
We have districts sending their students to us because they can't provide what we can here. So they're seeking that programming for their students, whether it's CTE and that career and technical education, or on exceptional learner side, programming for students with disabilities and IEPs that need a different educational setting that they can't provide. So for us as a BOCES, it's important that we are focusing on what do districts need and how do we best support that? And if we don't have it right now, what do we need to do to get there?
In order to provide a positive environment for our students and an environment that sustains excellence, we really have to support our staff. And now more than ever, it's not only about supporting the staff that we have, it's about implementing actions and initiatives in order to bring high quality staff on board. It's about the human resources and the human capital that we have in front of us in order to provide the right kind of service for our districts and for our students.
I think that the strategic plan will create a stronger culture here at school between students and staff. I think it's only just going to improve the rapport that we've built among each other, and it's going to further prove that we are a leader in education here in the community.
And then finally, one of our priorities is operations. We think about operations in terms of facilities because the environment matters. And when we think about our strategic plan, we're focused on long-term planning for our students. We're focused on the physical environments that they walk into, the learning environments and the spaces that they walk into each and every day. But we're also focused on operations in terms of systems and having the right types of systems in place so that our operations flow smoothly, so that our work can be done most efficiently on a day-to-day basis. And so it's really those two buckets when we talk about operations. And those really are priorities that will sustain us over the next few years.
I love having a strategic plan. It's something that we can reference. It's a resource. It becomes our guiding compass for what we're doing. It's about becoming an organization, building a culture, setting roots, and really connecting with the people that we're working with. And I think that that's what's really going to bring our reputation in the community to a higher place. I also think it's going to be where people are going to want to stay for a long time and work because they're going to be proud to be there.
As with everything in education these days, we have to be flexible. We have to be ready to change with a moment's notice. And so the idea of being adaptable and flexible was really important when creating the action plan. Our priorities are big enough and large enough that we can make a shift if we need to. And we should be making shifts based on the responses and based on the things that we're seeing with our students, within our districts, and within our communities. So that idea around adaptability and flexibility is built right in so that we can adjust tasks, we can extend them, we can shorten them, we can do whatever we need to do to make sure that we're, again, working towards those priorities and that ultimate vision and mission.
I think the impact of having a strategic plan on stakeholders is just the fact that we really have an understanding and a roadmap of what we're trying to achieve and what we're working on. So when we turn to our stakeholders for involvement or for funds or support or bringing them into the classroom or getting our students out of the classroom to where they are, that roadmap and that strategic plan is going to give us our why every single time.
I appreciate so much that this is all in writing now and that we can look at it and read it and understand what the goals are and what the missions are and what the values are to make sure that students are getting what they need, but that also our faculty and staff are being taken care of as well.
I think having that plan would be beneficial because I would like to grow even more in my time here. I think having that plan and having that vision, I think will also help me with achieving something I want. And what that is to be able to make change.
As an educator, I think that just seeing more community involvement will be a great indicator to me that our strategic plan is actually working and has had a successful rollout.
So I like to say, like Disney, we're just innovating all over the place. We are preparing our students for careers. I really do love our plan, but we don't. We're preparing our students for careers and jobs that may not even exist yet. The skills and the connections that they need in order to be successful. So again, thank you so much for having us. Does anyone have any questions?
I'm here to make a pitch for a 15-member board. We only have 14 members. So we're going to vote on the election. We still won't have 14 members. We're looking for a 15th. Not a bad job. We provide mileage, and at the same time, we provide dinner. And then we have our workshops. Everything's done on one night, second Wednesday of the month. You arrive at 5:30 or so, you start your committee meetings. 6:30 is your started regular meeting, 6 o'clock is there. Everything's covered. It takes a while to learn. But just as you can see from the articulation of the youngsters, it's phenomenal. We're doing it for 31 districts. We need new ideas. We need some innovative concepts. Please, if you're interested or know someone that's interested, it's not a bad deal, and it's try before you buy, because the fact that you're not being elected per se, we can appoint you, and if 3 months down the road you decide it's not your cup of tea, it was great, nice knowing you, you learned something from you, you learned something about us, we move on. But if you know anybody, we really like that for 15 minutes. Which makes things a lot easier. And you're not going to learn it all in 3 years. Our program is 5, maybe 6 years. I'm still learning. I've been doing it since 81.
You've got the best part. We doubled the pay since last year.
Oh, yeah. Being on a regular board, and a BOCES board, you give your spouse the extra check.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No, I don't think I'm good. Maybe I'm not. Yeah.
Yes, do it now, do it now. Otherwise you're stuck.
So here.
All right, sir, you have the floor. This is budget workshop number 3 for the 24-25 budget. We will again provide business direction through transparency and detail. But please note, number projections are fluid. Tonight's workshop number 3, we will cover the updated tax levy and tax cap. We'll also show the tax impact, basically on house assessment. The 3-part budget of administrative, program, capital. We'll talk about our school food service, revenue update, our reserve plan, and our fund balance projection update. So as we have budget workshop 2, our point was what do we do in 2018 and 19? I was able to uncover that information. So this gives you the whole clear picture from 2018 to present day. The levy was $3 million, and the tax cap back in 2018 and 19 was 0%. Our tax impact. So what happens when we have a tax cap of 2.36? The estimated tax cap, or tax rate will be at $18.59 for $104,000 assessment, which then with a $100,000 assessment, you see in the bottom, the current tax charge would be $1,815. With this new tax cap and how the taxes would impact present day would be $1,859. So the tax increase would be $44 per year, which equals $3.67 per month. The run rate compared to last year's is about the same. So looking at our 3-part budget, we have to put it into the 3 different buckets of the administrative capital program. So in 2024-25, our appropriation budget for administrative is $1,240,161, which is actually lower than last year's administrative budget by $215,412, and that's primarily because of the choice of moving the business office from FPH BOCES to Fort Edward and Florida. That was significant savings there. Capital budget is $2,027,8335, which is $419,539 over last year's capital budget. But that also is because we are trying to increase the budget lines, the account lines for our buildings and grounds. This actually helps to put money in buckets that we desperately need to make our school top-notch. Percent difference from last year is 26%. And program, one of the things with our education is happening. This 24-25 appropriation budget for program is $10,119,155.83, $732,647 higher than last year, for a percent difference of 7.81. So the total budget was again $14,386,431, $936,774.15 over last year's budget, for a percent difference of 7.52. The percent difference on the bottom, our program is 76% of the budget, 15% would be capital, and 9% of our budget is administrative cost. And food service, I enjoy presenting this because, again, this is a budget within a budget. So the monies that we spend out, we actually get back. So it actually becomes a zero cost fund for whatever. We do have to have some initial investments, as we talked about in our first workshop, which was to basically invest $150,000 into our OC service and capital the food service program, but at the end it becomes kind of a wash. tape. This is how it is all supposed to be coming in this year for our monies that are coming in. I would highlight the appropriated fund balance. Again, I will talk in specifics of how much fund balance we do have, but this allows us a little bit more flexibility. Again, sometimes people are like, well, we want the true cost of our school. We do also want to remind you that in school business, you do want to have a little bit of extra surplus. You never want to have a fine-tuned budget of exactly the cost you're going to have, because there's so many unpredictable costs we have to account for. So we've got special education as one of them. Sometimes the transportation, depending on what our needs are. So there will be some kind of surplus built into your budget. And what happens is that whatever happens with the appropriate fund balance, you're kind of saying there's a little bit extra built in. Whatever we do not use to balance the budget just stays as fund balance. And what I did here is each reserve that we have, I've broken down how it's created, the purpose, funding methods, the use of the reserve, how we monitor the reserve, and the funding levels. Many of those reserves, the way I'm going to present, we're really not going to change much of them. They're just going to stay static, mostly because we, in our evaluations of where the funds and the reserves are, sometimes it's just not needed. So in this workers' comp, we also go through workers' comp as part of our budget itself. So this helps sometimes if there's an impeded cost or an embedded cost that we need to pay for, our reserves help to be established to use them specifically. So outside of what we budgeted for, which we don't expect any other incurred cost, this reserve would help to offset any of that impact to the district. So we're recommending no increase to this reserve. Same thing with the ERS reserve. We currently have $186,183.95. We, with current funding levels, it's approximately $90,000. So we're over that. We're doing well. We're going to push monies into our ERS reserve so that we can have the retirement system for that. But we recommend that we don't put any extra monies into this reserve in current scheme. Insurance reserve, $29,015.76. We again have insurance. We do put that into our budget. We do monitor this all the time. We do not see any that wants to know use of these funds in 23-24. And so again, our recommendation would be no increase to this reserve. This reserve is one of my favorites because it actually has no real restrictions to use. So it becomes kind of like an extra surplus. It's a way that you can actually put monies in from fund balance to then push into reserves to access. One of the reasons we're kind of needing to make sure our monies are moved right is the governor, other state officials are looking at our fund balance. Our fund balance right now is pretty high. We were actually about 20% according to our audit. So we do need to keep within the 4%, because what happens is if they think we have too much money, they will try to take that money away. So I'm really pushing them into reserves and showing that we do have money, but it's in appropriate buckets. They don't just say it's just sitting in your budget where you're not using it. This allows us to move the money. The reason I highlighted the portion at the bottom is because we are expecting about $500,000 from our emergency boiler project from last year. Depending on when that money hits our budget, whether it's during the audit, we need to make sure that we push that money around. So if we do end up getting that extra money, I would like to push more money into this reserve solely because it's the easiest one to take it back out. So if you need to spend for cash to be able to pay for something that we need, in that chance, this is the best reserve to do that.
It's just for clarity's sake, they don't necessarily take it away, they just don't give us any more.
Because of the state run, and we did actually decrease. Remember last year we did actually increase 4%. We decreased 1%, so that's a loss of 5%. We just want to make sure that we're not losing money or leaving it on the state table where they go, oh, that school looks like they're more in need than whatever. We want to show them truly that we do need our money, we push it into their reserves, but if we keep it in fund balance, they will probably continue to think we're healthier than we are.
Right, they're not putting our hand in our pocket and taking it out, they're just
Correct.
giving us less the following year.
But they could give us more if we show them.
We show them.
Correct. Good question. Unemployment insurance, we also have this as a budgeted amount. We do anticipate no extra increase because we did not use any money this year for 23-24. We do believe this is the current trend, so our recommendation is just to keep it as the reserve as is. That's currently at $59,125. Again, this retirement contributions for the teachers, the TRS versus the employee. Again, same concept. We did not use any money this last year. We do have the ability to fiscally, and this would be a reserve that we can keep it as is. And we currently have $156,812.85. Tax certiorari. If we were here in the fall, we realized there was some tax stuff we needed to navigate. This allows us, instead of just the budgeted monies, which we also tapped into, by having the reserve and having fund balance move money into this reserve, we can actually kind of give us that extra safety net of taxes that we don't expect, whether it's an additional star, sometimes again it's a business tax that might not hit the books correctly. We all know that sometimes it's not always easy. We don't always have control of certain assessments. This allows us a little bit more to protect ourselves as we continue this journey to make sure our schools protected this way, protect us fiscally. So I'm recommending we take $20,000 of fund balance and put that in this reserve. And transportation maintenance. This reserve actually has benefited us a lot. This current last year, we bought the van. We are now putting out proposition to purchase a 66-passenger diesel type C bus. So with that said, our future of Fort Edward, our bus 30, the small bus that has the lift, this lease would be up next year. So fiscally trying to navigate and trying to be proactive, I would like to put extra money within this reserve. Because again, long range plan, I also see us with navigating this EV mandate, also trying to restore our transportation of K-3 students. Being able to put money into this reserve will allow us to potentially achieve that goal. There's other things we have to obviously figure, whether it's bus drivers and there's other variables obviously, but fiscally if we put money into this reserve, it will allow us to buy that small 21-passenger bus, but also a 66-passenger bus. That will give us not only our full fleet, but it will allow us to be able to potentially bring back that transporting K-3 students. And mandatory debt service reserve. We have not tapped into any of those funds, 23 and 24. So the recommendation is to, again, continue what the reserve is currently at. So that's $271,853.18. And of course, capital projects and being able to pay for that service we hear all the time. When we do budget this within our budget, we'll see that we actually have those lines of principal and interest. This would be something that, again, we would incur expenses that we might not have saw. So way that we were able to use a reserve for that specific reason. And capital fund reserve. This actually is a little bit different than what I posted because I'm talking with our fiscal advisors. This would actually, the way our seeker has been written, having it in our current fund balance, because we're not going to be hit regardless right now, we can move those funds into the H fund, and that would not require an extra vote. So this is actually not correct. We will actually use the $1,200,000 and move it from fund balance into the H fund, which then can be used for the capital fund. But that $1,200,000 is what we're investing in our project. So currently, right now, our estimated unassigned fund balance is $2.5 million. Our emergency boiler project, we are anticipating $490,000. And with ESSER surplus, this is actually what we're going to put in at the end of our fiscal year, since many of those were related to salary. We are not anticipating that surplus hitting our books until 24-25. That amount of money we're anticipating is $900,000. The appropriate fund balance to balance our 24-25 budget, remember, was 501,000 And down below, the current budget proposal of $13,386,431. 4% is $535,456.01. So that's what we're kind of allowed to keep in our fund balance. But with the appropriated, keep in mind, because you've earmarked it to balance the budget, you can have over $1 million with kind of your budgetary amounts. But both have to be kind of set. This is what you're using them both for. One is to balance the budget, and the other is the 4% you're allowed. So depending on when the money's hit our books, that's kind of where the money movement happens. So this next slide is how I'm anticipating, depending on when things hit, how we can move our money to the reserve. So you'll see the proposed spend. We are going to, we do anticipate the employee benefit reserve. We will have 2 retirees this year, and they're going to come out at the max, which is $27,000, so $54,000 is what we will be spending. Transportation and maintenance reserve, because the proposal for the new 66 passenger diesel bus Type C is $178,863.50. So our total proposed spend for this current year would be $232,863.50. So using fund balance, again, we have $2 million to round. $1.2 million will be used for the capital. Again, that would be H fund. Transportation, I'm recommending that we move $300,000 into that reserve, $20,000 into tax certiorari, and if again we get that emergency boiler project money, we can move $500,000 into the public account. So that's your total projected reserves into a
Couple questions. Sure. Could you go back to the food service side?
Yes.
It was like food. I figured I'd make it go all like that.
There we go. Thank you.
So my question is, we're looking at an expense, versus expense for food service, $153,000. And we're looking at the return on that, $93,000.
So what happens is to kickstart that service from BOCES, we do the investiture of $150,000, and that allows you to be a part of that BOCES service, which then kickstarts a lot of these other monies that come in, whether it's, they have deals on food, surplus food. What happens is they become, it's a wash. So the investiture starts because you have to put the money in, and we'll eventually get that all back.
So it's similar to when we got involved in BOCES for the admin office.
But not as good in the fact that their rate of return becomes like a zero expense. So you get BOCES aid on the business service end, it's rated on certain proportions, but the amount of money that costs to run the cafeteria becomes a zero cost to the school. So that's what that.
That's good, that's good. So the following year, what's that line look like when it says BOCES service cafeteria? Do you know that?
They have been running, again, depending on their salaries, because that's part of their cafeteria management. They have, sadly Patrick is leaving us, but it was based on his years of service. So it depends on who they have in that role. That's how they were able to provide us that money. So that's what we come up with that. Yes.
My other question was, I think it's the previous slide. Well, yeah, we can go off this one. So we're looking at $1 million increase in budget, right? 900,000.
Yep.
And we're using 500,000 from fund balance to help, obviously, ease the tax burden of $1 million increase. And I know we probably can't answer this now, but we're gonna have to see that 5-year projection soon. Because we're taking $500,000 out this year to make it work. What are we taking out next year to make it work? And before you know it, you don't have a fund balance problem. You're below 4% and things happen. So
I work with Sarah, and we'll be presenting that in April. The anticipatory, as you said, expenses, how things run, we were very positive. That's a very positive outlook. Keep in mind, again, this is not including that $900,000 that we're getting. So there are some monies that will be dropping in our lap. What happens again with the fund balance gain, if you will, is by appropriating it and saying that's gonna help you fund your budget, how to balance your budget, you don't usually pay all that amount of money anyways. So that extra 500 becomes sort of fund balance for the future. So you won't be spending $13,386,000. You just budget that so you can incur expenses if they happen. So again, if we have 10 students in special education that come to Fort Edward and we don't anticipate, we can still have those costs, pay those expenses, and still be able to balance our budget.
Right, so that is what it costs to run this school.
Correct.
We're just making sure we're prepared, should we have an influx of students that need resources.
100%.
We have that ability to operate within what we're asking the public to approve.
Correct. And then talking to every department, getting a really true picture of what is spent, what their needs are athletically, co-curricular, just every line that we went through specifically with every cent is paid. This allows us to really have a true, clearer picture of how to make Fort Edward an awesome school, the best school. And 13386 is a way that we can get there because it allows us to not only make sure every program has their needs, but for the possibility we have students coming in that we're not anticipating for, how we can still make sure our school is running and fiscally solvent. So by having that amount of money with the extra sort of fund balance that we can kind of play with because we're appropriate to balance the budget, it kind of becomes more of a savings within that budget. So at the end, that could be used for next year. We'll just hit the extra fund balance, we just move monies around. Again, appropriate for the next year, using usually that same regurgitated money from year over year. So that's how you do that.
Perfect. Yep. For all the folks watching, that's it, right there. It's what it costs. Okay. Any other questions?
Just a couple statements on my end. I think, Chris, you're doing a fabulous job, number one. Number two, I know that carrying a fund balance of that magnitude, let's call it, can be a little unsettling, but I think as you see is that we're trying to balance the budget with $500,000 and one increase of $900,000 from year to year. I don't see that increase going and being steady from year to year, obviously. But what you also have to remember is this: we did lose 1% in our state aid funding so far. The runs are still fluid. But what I think it has to tell you is a little red light in your head should go off, is that the foundation aid formula and the state aid formula is being highly looked at. So what does that mean? That means, hey, we lost 1% this year. If everyone's carrying an extremely high fund balance and they're starting to play with the state aid formula, it doesn't hurt us right now to have that because you don't know what the state aid rules are going to look like coming year after year after year. So I think we're being very fiscally responsible in utilizing our aid. I think we're being very fiscally responsible, and when we add things, we are looking to have them regenerated through possibly other districts coming and utilizing our services. So I think it's a sound plan. I think we're preparing for the future, and I also think that there are things that we are preparing for that could be unknown. So I think it's a very, very solid budget.
Thank you. Thanks.
It's not quite exciting as a blood spatter lab or anything.
Ouch.
Try to keep you entertained. There's some special effects in there or something.
Okay. All right, where are we here? I see my buddy out in the audience there. Okay. All right, Ms. Russo, you're up.
All right.
I think there's yeah, that's it.
All right.
We should just stay over there.
More comfortable on the side.
Do we have a clicker? Do we need a clicker? I don't know if I need a clicker. Thanks. So, in anticipation of having some smaller sections of our core classes next year,
We've got a pretty small 7th grade, a pretty small upcoming 8th grade, possibly only running one section. We've got 20 kids in the upcoming 8th grade. We've been able to look at our teaching assignments. Nothing's 100% set in stone, but looking at if we were to run, say, one section of English 7 or one section of English 8 or one section of Math 8, what would teachers be free to teach as electives? So we've actually, I put it out to the faculty and got this, which I believe was in your board packet, some really, really interesting electives. Joanna Scotch has already been meeting with some students who are thrilled that these are proposed ideas. So they're signing up for them just, so we can gauge interest. She's kind of given them the qualifier that they may not run. If we need a teacher to teach something else, these electives may not run. If not enough people sign up, they may not run. But just gauging the interest. And kids right now are quite interested. So in the English department, we've got a couple of great electives that have been proposed. Horror literature, so kind of reading some creepy blood and guts kind of literature, and kids are just fascinated by this. It would be a half-credit English elective, and I think it's great. It shows kids want to read, which is great, and they're reading something that they're really interested in. And I think what a great way to spend your day, have a part of your day is to read stuff you're interested in, have these great discussions, write some papers about them, compare and contrast. So they're talking about some of the classics like Mary Shelley, Shirley Jackson, and then I think she's going to bring in some newer horror literature as well, so they can kind of compare maybe what was considered scary and kind of cutting edge years ago and what's considered cutting edge now. So, yeah, we can scroll a little bit. Okay. In the same vein, but definitely different enough, dystopian literature. So kind of talking about, future literature, kind of post-apocalyptic type of stuff. And Hunger Games would be kind of considered a dystopian literature choice. And again, students are really excited to read that, to read things like that. And again, half-year elective can be paired against something else that students have to take, that can be paired against health or paired against the horror literature or another half-year course. Again, it allows students to accrue some of the 22 credits that are required for graduation. Of those 22 credits, only 18 are specified by the state, so students do have to find electives to grow that 22 credits. So this would be a perfect opportunity for them to get a credit, doing something that we want them to do, learning to read things that they like, and hopefully continuing that reading habit through adulthood. Scroll a little bit more. We've talked about we've been playing with English 12 a little bit, so this is still in discussion, whether we'll offer standard English 12 as a full year English course, whether we'll be pairing it like with business writing and another literature class, so kids can kind of pick and choose and create their own English 12, if you will. But business writing is a proposed elective, which I think is it's very exciting for kids who are going to college and kids who are not going to college. It's covering all of the bases, cover letter writing, resume writing, some of those things that used to be taken care of in Introductions to Occupations, which isn't a class that exists anymore. Email etiquette, professional communication skills. Everybody knows how to text, but not everybody knows email etiquette. Even some adults don't always follow email etiquette, and I'll point at myself. So that definitely happens. Media literacy skills, some social media type of stuff, and then how to even do something like business proposals, copywriting that can lead into jobs if they enjoy those skills. And again, those would be for our students going to college and our students not going to college. Those are skills that everybody needs to have. And we currently do offer creative writing, and we want to keep that in our course catalog. And then finally, in the English department, middle school boot camp and positivity project, kind of combined. The way I'm proposing it right now is it would be full year, every other day, for the 7th grade students. So half the 7th grade would go every other day, the other half would go the opposite days. And it would be a combination of the short boot camp that we ran this year with Mr. Becker, where they're learning some academic skills, studying, organization, that type of thing, paired with the Positivity Project's middle school curriculum that we already own. We own it, it's part of the 3-year commitment we made to Positivity Project. So we already have the curriculum, we've got the teacher, who is Mrs. Lucas, who is chomping at the bit to teach it. She loves middle school students, they love her, she is very faithful to the Positivity Project right now. Every time it's her time to present, she's all in. And then she loves helping the middle school students get organized. So putting those two together, she really is, you can see all, kind of all the bullet points she put in there. She's really got this, she's already working on melding these two things together. So we're looking at making that a required course for 7th graders. And again, we go every other day opposite their PE. Take them out of a study hall that 7th graders don't really use. I don't want to say they don't need it, but they're not using it. So this would be a better use of their time, because again, teaching them how to be organized, and really delving into the Positivity Project at a deeper level. So it wouldn't just be, expanding the days, or the weeks character trait. It would really be diving into some positive psychology. And again, Ms. Lucas is thrilled. We're hooking her up with a person who teaches that at Mechanicville. They have a very successful class there. When Mrs. Smacco, Mrs. Stark, and I went to the summit in Mechanicville earlier this year, they had a huge panel of students who were talking about Positivity Project. They all named that class as their favorite class that they took at Mechanicville, was the middle school Positivity Project class. So we'd like to delve into that. Scroll. Now in the social studies realm, again, looking for some interesting classes for students to take. Food through American history. So this is one that Mr. Boucher is flickered? Mr. Boucher is proposing this, where they will really learn how to, they'll talk about the foods that people ate throughout history, and bake some of them, and show how a lot of the foods that we consider kind of native to American cuisine came from all over the world. So I think that's a really interesting class. He's quite excited about that. Mr. Prindle wants to continue to offer the Civil War. He already teaches that class. He'd also like to offer another half-year course, the Cold War, which a lot of us remember as kids. And so he wants to kind of delve into that, talk about, the Cuban Missile Crisis, and, when the Soviet Union was the Soviet Union, and our students, our current students missed all that. So really kind of giving them a flavor of this is a big era in American history that we don't always touch on really as much as we do things like the Revolutionary War and the Civil War. In the music department, what's being suggested is the history of rock and roll. So he's going to have Mr. Smith is going to have kind of a rotation, music in our lives, music theory, which he's currently teaching, and then next year he'd like to do history of rock and roll. So that way students who are really interested in music can kind of take a whole cycle of classes in addition to the performance classes like band and chorus. In our health and PE department, intro to coaching and officiating. It is true not only locally, but statewide. We are looking for coaches, we're desperate for coaches and officials. A lot of officials in a lot of sports are getting up there in years or needing to retire, but some of them keep hanging on because there's no one to take their place. Games get canceled sometimes because we have lack of officials, and that's not just here at Fort Edward. So Ms. Netto wants to teach a class about the basics of coaching and basics of officiating. And that would, then hopefully students would either possibly go into that for a career, but at least could go into it as a side hustle, if you will. Officiating is not bad money, and it keeps you in touch with a game that maybe you played in high school, you love the game, high school's over, there's nowhere to play that, but at least you can still officiate. And, delving into sports psychology, safety, the things that you need to know about as a coach. This would not certify kids as an official or a coach, but it would give them a lot of the information they would need to hopefully pique their interest. Krista Britt, one of our newer teachers, is looking to do sports through film. So kind of looking at sports-related movies, but as they touch on some themes, kind of in American history, segregation, women in sports, poverty, as seen through the eyes of the, so she was talking about watching Rocky, because that talks about poverty, and the way out of poverty was to go be a boxer. We look at things like, remember the Titans, and because there was a big segregation was a theme in that movie. So movies that kids are going to be interested in, and showing how sports really are really integral in a lot of American issues. Our foreign language department, we currently have, we rent space to, I can't even remember which BOCES it is. It's not one of our post BOCES, but they have a American Sign Language teacher who they rent a classroom here. She teaches one American Sign Language class for us in the building, live to our kids. And the rest of the day, she's doing distance learning American Sign Language. So she would like to offer, continue to offer American Sign Language 1, and she'd like to offer American Sign Language 3 for our kids who have taken 1 and 2, and they can get college credit for that. Yeah,
She did all 3, she loved it.
It's a great class, it's a really great skill, and at a lot of four-year colleges, you have to take a certain level of foreign language. American Sign Language is considered a foreign language, and if they can get credit through ASL 3, depending on the school they go to, that might take care of that foreign language requirement. It's kind of an interesting thing. Yeah, we got kids who, like, in a huge class last year, kids just flocked to it. And the really interesting thing about that teacher is she is deaf. So she's deaf and she's teaching sign language to our students. So, they really get a chance to use it and to know somebody who depends on that. So it's also a good cultural thing for them as well. And then finally, we have a list of technology classes that Mr. Herman already teaches. So they've already been approved, but just wanted to bring your attention to all the classes that he does teach. Tech 7, which is kind of like your standard wood shop. Tech 8, computers 8, so he does half a year of wood shop with the 8th graders, half a year of computers with the 8th graders. Pre-engineering, computer integrated manufacturing, and drawing and design for production, which is DDP. So that's almost like pre-architecture. And for our students who are not musically inclined and are not super artistic, that also counts as the 1 year of art or music that students need in order to graduate. I'd love to offer even more technology classes. Everybody likes to take classes with Mr. Herman. Unfortunately, there's only one of him. But he's always doing great things. I don't know if you saw the play on Friday night. King Triton's trident broke. And right afterwards, Mr. Herman picked it up and headed to his wood shop at 10 o'clock at night to go fix the trident. So he is everywhere, and he's always doing things for us. But yeah, so I was really excited that, I was thinking we'd get maybe 2 or 3 additional courses I was really excited by the number of courses and the creativity teachers showed in putting this together.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good experience.
They put wheels on these chairs. Okay. You are up, sir.
Okay. So while Greg, you don't have to turn around because you already have this, sir. So while Greg brings this up, I just wanted, it's about our mission and core values. So I'm going to call this a 2-year project, all right? And I want to thank all the members of the board who participated in it, especially Sarah and Audra, who brought us to the finish line on it. So it started out with Dr. Harry Brooks, where we kind of learned our roles and responsibilities. And then Mr. Tom Ciaccio came in and started us as a big group, and then we weeded it down to those really who wanted to be involved in the process, and we kept everybody, I would say, I'm confident saying we kept everybody abreast of our project progress. And last Wednesday, we brought it to a close, and this is the final product, which I'm hoping the board will review for the next 2 weeks. And then at the March 25th meeting that we have, I would like it to be approved through a resolution and get it up in every classroom, start making poster boards of it, and get it around so we can start thinking about our mission, core values, and then us as a board will work together to establish our goals. And then hopefully have that work completed this summer to kick off for the 24-25 school year in September to the staff. So, our mission statement. At Fort Edward, we have a tradition of excellence that ignites a passion to empower and prepare every student to reach their potential. A lot of great key words in there, and what I would say the process of that came from every board member providing at least one mission statement and even referring back to what we had before. So the big words are there are tradition, igniting, empowering, okay? Those are the things I think we are going to hang our hat on here at Fort Edward. When we start to do things in our classroom, basing it on the traditions of excellence that we've had here. You know, we are going to work to ignite the passion of each kid wherever they are or wherever they start, and especially when they get to the finish line. And each kid will produce their own potential and get to where they want to be, just like our 3 kids did here today and talked about, okay? So I feel very solid in that mission statement. I'm very happy that we came up with it, and I'm very proud of the work that we've done. Audra and Sarah, would you like to chime in at all? You don't have to, but I do want to give you an opportunity because you took it to the finish line.
We definitely wanted to highlight the tradition of, because our community is big with tradition, community pride. So being able to blend people with the new and the current, we wanted to highlight all those things and be able to reach everyone at a different level.
So Greg, you mind just rolling that up so we can see all the core values? We decided that we had probably at least 25 core values I think we had to choose from, and we narrowed it down to 10.
And then we had to customize some, and sometimes there's 2, and we had to kind of blend them in and kind of tweak them and make them more.
Yep. And we really worked hard, I would say, at not being cliche, right?
Yeah, we didn't want any buzzwords or anything that was like really popular right now. We wanted it to stand the test of time.
So at Fort Edward, we believe all students can succeed. At Fort Edward, we believe that successful learning involves innovation methods of instruction, reflective practice, and professional development. So we're talking about students, we're talking about staff too. At Fort Edward, we believe all students can develop a responsibility for their own education. At Fort Edward, we believe in setting high expectations that challenge every student, and that'll be what we challenge the staff to do. At Fort Edward, we believe in a character education program that focuses on citizenship, integrity, and strong moral character. And that's what we're doing with P2. At Fort Edward, we believe in partnering with our families to to work through challenges that lead to student success. Granted, a great thing about a tight-knit community, we can make that happen. At Fort Edward, we believe in creating a sense of belonging for all students. At Fort Edward, I'm going to back up because I missed one. We believe in providing a safe and positive learning environment for all students and staff. At Fort Edward, we believe in creating partnerships with our community that lead to student success and community pride. And the last one, at Fort Edward, we believe in being fiscally responsible, thank you, Mr. Rader, and transparent with our community when making financial decisions. So that's where our core values lie. All I would ask is that you let that marinate in your brains for a couple weeks. Obviously, we would like to have our agenda done the Wednesday before, so Tom and I can review it, to be proposed onto the March 25th meeting. And then the goal is we would adopt that through resolution, and then I can start creating the poster boards for our entranceways, our gyms, our auditoriums, and I would like to do a small frame and put one in every classroom. Sure.
I love those. Those are fantastic. They hit every mark. It's fantastic. I love how you guys structure that because it really takes the student from the beginning, igniting the passion, empowering them in the middle, make sure they're doing what they need to do and for themselves and everything, and then getting them ready to go on. So it really does kind of take them through the whole path of school. I love that. And I love the fact too, we all had a little bit, right? We did the first couple of workshops together with Tom. We kind of just about our two newest members with the fresh outlook, positivity, and I love it because it really translates into those. So I think it's fantastic. Great job, guys. All around, really great job.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
That's it. Not moving. I don't care what goes on.
Gives me goosebumps. Yeah.
So now we got our reports on committees. We met this evening, Finance Committee. You guys were privy to the budget report. We went over a couple of items very similar to the budget report, so we're all good there. Do we have any committees that need to meet upcoming?
We still need to schedule the personnel agreements and negotiations. We didn't much just because I noticed that we were going to do that. We had an email and.
Yep. We do need, and that's Ella, myself, and John.
Audra.
Audra. Okay, Audra's on. All right, folks, let's pick a date, any date. What are we doing?
Well, why don't I do this? I don't want to squelch your thing, but since we're in negotiations with FES at this time, it would probably behoove us to have Rachel at the committee meeting as well.
All right,
So why don't I get some dates from her,
Okay, good.
and that way we can,
Perfect.
okay.
No other committees need to meet?
I think that we might want to get policy committee together just one more time, on the timeout policy that I got some updates from Mallory from, and then just ensure that we're good for the rest of the policy audit, so that we can get that together, I'd like to do that as well.
Who's on policy? Yeah. What night works for you guys?
What about Wednesday, the 20th? I mean, next Wednesday. Tim?
Yeah, that works.
Casey? 5 o'clock start?
What time?
5 p.m. start? Would that
Yeah,
work?
that's fine. Yep.
Is that too early?
I'll get here.
You sure?
I mean, I leave work
I mean,
at 4:30 in Glens Falls, so I can get here.
Okay. All right.
All righty. Moving right along. Oh, okay. Superintendent report.
All right, thank you very much. Staff vacancies for the 24-25 school year. Spanish, math. We did put out for math for a .6. We did get one applicant. We're interviewing them this week. Special education, we have put out. We did not get any applicants for that position. We will be reposting that. School psychologists we're putting out for 1.0. We have already 0.6, and we'll see how that goes. Capital project work, today you vote on the scope of the work for our $14.5 million project. Hopefully you have reviewed any of the issues there. We are, or have, and Garrett's here, if you have any questions. Athletics, spring sports starts today. We will be offering baseball, softball, just to give the community an update. If you have not heard already, at softball we are running independently as a Fort Edward varsity team, and we'll be running with Fort Edward varsity, softball, and modified. So we are extremely happy about that, because when you create your own, some wonderful things that can happen, and I'll reiterate that in just a second. And the last sporting opportunity for the spring is tennis. But I'd just like to take a second, and I hope that, I know it's only been 2 short years, but when you think about what Fort Edward has done athletically, it is amazing. When I first got here, we had basketball. We only had 2 levels, modified and varsity, and that varsity team won 2 games. This past season, they went to the Coolin Shuri Arena in the semifinals to play North Warren, and led that game 3 out of the 4 quarters. And North Warren just won the Class D sectional title and are in regional state play looking for a state championship. Still playing. That team's still playing. You look at our girls, our girls volleyball team, a year before I got here, they won 1 set. Not 1 match, 1 set of 1 match. Okay? And then the second year we were here, they did okay. And, I think they got into a sectional play, which was my first year here. And then this year, they beat the state champions of Lake George during the regular season, and then lost to them in the semifinals. Bowling, we've already talked about. Baseball was a Section 2 Class D champs last year. And so the amazing growth that's happened in 2 years, and I know that some people are disappointed about maybe not merging with Hartford in softball this year, but look what's happened to the teams that we've owned: volleyball, basketball. It's just been an amazing run where they took some lumps and now they're competing for titles. So this could be a path for us. You never know. So I'm sorry, I just thought that needed to be pointed out, because people always, they never put the measuring stick behind them. They always talk about, oh, we could have done this, and darn it, we lost to that. But look where we came from. So it's just a great thing. I just wanted to make sure we were highlighting that. I think it's on the board meeting minutes for today, and I put it in your updates. I am looking to add a 0.5 TA for the remainder of this year. One of the major reasons I'll tell you is ISS, I think, in-school suspension is a major deterrent that we use quite a bit, or we try to use quite a bit. Mrs. Russo has been very creative. But in speaking to our ISS supervisor, she has not been in ISS actually, I think the last time she was in ISS a whole day was December?
Probably.
December. So, and because we've had to pull because of certain illnesses or absences or things like that. So we are reevaluating that, but we do need some help in that arena, and we are just maxing out our people who are aides and TAs. We're just maxing them out. They need a little pressure reliever. So I think having a 5-hour worker for the remainder of the next 3 months, and then reevaluating with Aaron and Mallory our needs at the aides and TA spots, because if we need an extra one, we're going to have to petition for an extra one. But at least this just gives us time to patch this year in, and then reevaluate and look what we need over the summer. Okay. Well, I want to thank Mrs. Russo. It's probably in a report, so sorry for stealing your thunder, but came to me with, the idea of 2 independent classes, and she went over it a little bit in the cohort report. 2 independent studies for 2 of our students so that they can graduate at least close to or on time. with their cohort. And we did put that out, and we have one, I think, going.
One of them is currently going, the other one has not attended school for a while.
But the opportunity is there, and we're relaying that message, correct?
For sure.
And again, congratulations to Mrs. Russo, and thank you for being the master scheduler she is. I think we are actually running this course at no cost to the district at this time. So I know
No additional cost.
when I petitioned, or when we petitioned you, we imagined almost a $3,000 cost, $1,500 per course. Now, we still could end up paying $1,500 if we have this one student come back.
Correct.
But right now, we're not. All right. There's the workplace violence program that all of you I've been made aware of. We have to be in compliance by May 3rd. I thank the policy committee for their work on that. But the program, I will tell you, we're working on. I did make a little faux pas. Well, maybe not a faux pas, but maybe a misstep, I would call it. Let's call it that. I had the assessment done by Needham. The unions would like a little more information and a little more input on that assessment and discussion. So I've recircled the wagons. We're meeting with them this Thursday, is it, Casey? This week, with all the union heads. Needham will be back, we'll be touring the building, and then they'll be hopefully doing the training on our next half day, and it should bring us back on track to meet the May 3rd deadline. And the big thing is that the unions will have to have a part in our actual workplace violence program and how we address that. So I'll keep you posted. It's in mine. I'm sure it's in Aaron's, but I get to go first, so I'm gonna. I'll pull rank on this one. I want to thank all of the people involved in the play this weekend, or the musical. Just did a fabulous job. Mrs. Stark leading that charge, and all of the volunteers involved. I saw a couple Godfreys come back into the mix. There was a lot of people, and all of the people, I mean, Marianne's husband, who was here at night and on weekends building sets. We had 313 tickets sold on Friday night. We had 267 tickets sold on Saturday for a grand total of 575 tickets. And just mind you, our auditorium only holds about 400 people, so it was pretty tight in there, at least on Friday night. So very well done, and it was a quality performance too. So congratulations to all the actors. Half-day superintendent's conference, as I said, we have one coming up on the 28th, and another full day, I can't remember, in April, correct? We're on schedule to do our explicit direct instruction, and it's looking very good. So Mrs. Russo put out a survey today to the staff to get an evaluation on that, and our facilitator will be coming in to do some walkthroughs to see how direct and explicit instruction is actually being doled out to our students. So we've trained them, we're continuing to train them, now we're going to be doing some evaluation on that as a whole. Not a pure evaluation, just an evaluation. The senior trip. Okay, hold on. Sorry, got a text from Mrs. DeSorti, and I don't want to not leave out, I don't want to leave out any details. Thursday, June 6th is the senior trip. They'll be taking a Fort Edward bus with 15 students to Ashworth by the Sea in Hampton Beach. They'll be spending a day there and the night, getting up Friday the 7th and driving to Six Flags, New England and Massachusetts, spending the day there. They are open till 10. They are open at 10, they close at 7. Then we're going to do dinner someplace and be home Friday night. Chaperones at this time are Ms. Havens, Mrs. Russo, and Mr. Smith. We are looking for someone to stay for the night to watch our kids, and of course we have the bus driver is Mr. Browning. So we are, and Chris went over some of the costs of that for us that we'll be billing back to the class. Looks to be about $550, and they're on their way. And we do have one issue to discuss, but we'll do that in executive session. That has to deal with the senior trip. And my last, two more items, sorry. Our unused snow days. I know we could get something in March, I understand this, but here's the plan for the unused snow days. We'll extend the April break. I'll put it on Monday, on the April 9th. I'm going to the farthest one away because if we do have a snow day, that'll be the first one to come off. Okay? April 8th, thank you. I keep saying the 9th, I don't know why. Monday, April 8th. All right. And I didn't tell the staff this yet, but I did tell them I would tell them by end of business today, but my end of business hasn't ended yet, has it? So I did inform them that we would extend the Memorial Day weekend by Thursday and Friday, but we do have a second grade trip that cannot be rescheduled, which I believe is on the 23rd. So I am moving those 2 days to Friday and the following Tuesday. So those 2 days will be, so those are the 3 give back days, which will take us to 182 days contractually for our staff and meet the 180-day requirement for our students. And finally, I just want to thank these individuals who are leaving the district or have left the district. So Chuck Perkins was, you all know Chuck, did a great job as our deputy treasurer, and we wish him well. He is, BOCES has replaced him into another district. His last day was last week, and we wish him luck and thank him for his service at Fort Edward. Patrick Keneally, as Chris had mentioned, he's been offered a job through, I want to say, another grant service, where he'll be traveling and working from home and still doing quality food service for schools. We'll see him around, but I don't know if any of you have heard, but I think I've mentioned it a few times, but the quality of our lunches is absolutely outstanding. I told my wife gets totally jealous all the time when I come home and tell her what I had for lunch. But she was happy the other day because Patrick told me the BOCES service took over her school. So she was happy the other day. So, and finally, Greg Weeks. This is Greg's last board meeting with us today. He is moving on to IT for a private firm, and we wish him well and thank him so much for his service to Fort Edward. We always look forward to Thursdays when Greg's in town. Nothing against any other IT person. But just a hardworking, great work ethic, and a very kind, big-hearted individual. So Greg, we wish you luck. Thank you.
Good luck.
And that's all I have.
All right, so I'm going to talk quickly because my computer is going to die momentarily, and I did not print this. So our attendance since day one, we are at 91.6% attendance since day one. The great news is, compared to this same calendar date last year, our attendance has improved by 2%. 2% doesn't sound like a lot, but we were in the 80s then, and we're 91% now. So we're hoping that that's, maybe in part to P2, and just the positive vibes that are happening here in the building. Our high attendance grades, third grade, a whopping 95% attendance since day one. First and sixth grade both have 94% attendance since day one. Our classes that need to grow in the attendance area are 9th grade, 12th grade, and 8th grade. They are all just under 90 at 87, 88, and 89% respectively.
So could I just pause you just for a second? Sorry. Did you say third grade is 95%?
Yeah.
So that is the only section in our elementary school that's one section.
And they're all here all the time.
It's just an interesting fun fact, I think, It's just an interesting fun fact.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if there's any correlation to that, and I'm not saying there is. If anybody listening out there, I'm just saying it's just a fun fact. Go ahead, sorry.
We had a lockdown drill, which was very successful. Captain Leclerc sent 4 sheriff's deputies to come help. So they walked around the building with us to make sure we were, checking everything properly, unlocking everybody. I will say, my year and a half here, this was the first lockdown drill. I would say the best performed lockdown drill. All classrooms were locked. and we couldn't see teachers or kids in any classroom. So that's the first time this has happened since I've been here. We've always found at least one door unlocked, or peek in there and you can see the kids hiding in the corner. So everybody did a great job. And again, it was really nice to have the sheriff's deputies here, made it go a lot quicker. Yeah, so that was great.
And did we receive any staff notifications that we forgot to release anybody?
No.
There you go.
So the poor PE department last year, I think they were feeling a little bit neglected. We left them in the locker room I think twice, and then one time we did a lockout and they were down at the park and they never heard the release over the radio. So we made PE our top priority this time to make sure we knew where they were going to be and who was assigned to release them. So yeah, so
That's right. And our administrative assistants, because they were in the maintenance closet one time and we didn't.
Yes, But I think it was important. We had a pre-meeting to discuss it. We went over everything and then we had an immediate debrief afterwards, which was really good because that way we could talk about all of those things. We had an actual hold in place, actually just a few days after that. So the difference between a lockdown and a hold in place, a lockdown is when, we're practicing for something happening in the building, an active shooter or some kind of violent episode where we need kids and staff to hide away and give no indication that they are in the building, and we're locking doors so nobody can get through. A hold in place is when there's an emergency. It could be like a medical emergency, a behavioral emergency that's going to be pretty short duration, but you just don't want people in the hallway. So people don't have to lock their doors. Nobody has to hide. Business as usual. We just say hold in place. Nobody's entering the hallway. So we had a real hold in place because we had a behavioral emergency. The hold in place lasted less than 15 minutes. And then as soon as it was over, we, announced that the hold in place is over and people can now enter the hallway. And we were able to de-escalate the situation pretty quickly. Yeah, we did put that out to the public because we didn't want kids to go home and tell their parents what was going on. So we had an official statement go out to the public so that parents and community members knew that there was a hold in place that happened. Like Rich said, we've been doing explicit instruction PD at our superintendent's conference days. So we're doing like a 4-part series from BOCES. So it's not just a one and done. Abby Churcott has been coming back. So she will have done a 4-part series by the time the year has ended about explicit instruction, which I think is really important, that it's not just a one and done. She gets to come back and check in on people and answer questions as they have them. Enrichment session 3 starts tomorrow. We have 57 kids signed up and all the programs are filled. This time it's Let's Get Jumping. It's a jump rope enrichment. Fort's First Responders. That one filled up really quickly. So our nurse, who's brand new this year, is going to teach kids the basics of first aid. Intro to Canva, which is a computer program, and they're going to use it to do a food truck simulation with Canva. It's going to be pretty interesting. And Pin Pals with Coach Chase. They're going to be bowling up at the bowling alley. And so over the 3 sessions of enrichment, we have filled 178 seats. So some that's been the same kid for 3 different sessions, but 178 seats. On the athletic front, tomorrow I'm holding a coaches meeting to look at the coaching evaluation process. We have an evaluation tool that's a little bit clunky, so I'm looking to streamline it, but asking for coaches' input so we can sit down and we've got some examples of some one-pagers, some self-assessments, and I want to get the coaches' input on that. And then upcoming dates, March 22nd, we have the Opera to Go coming here from Saratoga Opera, so that'll be for our elementary students. March 27th is the elementary PE show. So this is the big event of the year for the PE department. Pre-K through 5 is having this great, they're dancing, they're doing all kinds of stuff. They've been rehearsing for weeks now. So parents are involved or invited to come see that. I actually have gone down and danced, and I'm going to have to erase all the video from the gym. I've gone down to boogie with them, and it's not pretty. April 8th, which is one of our give back days, we are having an eclipse trip to Lake Placid. Even though we won't have school that day, we still have students and a couple teachers who are interested. So we will still be bringing interested students up to Lake Placid to view the solar eclipse. We've got our 3 through 8 ELA assessment April 16th and 17th, the math assessment April 30th and May 1st, and on May 14th, grades 5 and 8 state assessments for science. So that's what's coming up.
All right. So our School to Work program has been quite busy. In February, right after the board meeting, they had made a lunch, and they served goulash and garlic bread and cake, and it was really delicious. They are currently working on making sock bunnies for the upcoming Easter holiday. We have UPK registration coming up on March 20th. This past Superintendent's Day, on this past Friday, Ms. Barrett, our speech and language pathologist, gave de-escalation training to our elementary and secondary staff members. So that's part of the mandate that, we are providing some type of therapeutic intervention to anybody that works with a child that could come into crisis. So we've been working on that to cover that on our end, and also, put some extra tools in our teachers' toolkits. Any teachers or staff members that missed it will be making that training up in the next coming Superintendent's Day that we have scheduled. Ms. Wested's class has 2 new class members. They have adopted 2 guinea pigs, Ace and Marshmallow. Mrs. Jade Zagorski had graciously donated them to the classroom. But the students have really enjoyed taking care of them, and I went up, and I think they're probably the best well-fed guinea pigs in New York. So, but the kids have really enjoyed having them. Annual review season has started, so we plan to have these meetings. We have a few days set out during the week, and our goal is to really get those finalized for the next school year by June 1st of this year. The New York State alternate assessment window opened today. So Mrs. Cleveland and Ms. Galsick, they have been preparing to have students take those tests. We have about 5 students taking the test this year, and there's 9 different subtests between English and math. And they have until the closing on June 7th to complete them. So they'll, chunk it and take it about a week at a time or so. One of the things that we really have been working on, and we are actually meeting as a special education department tomorrow, is looking at our continuum of services and our programming. So in reviewing the projections that we have, looking at our students' needs, and then also looking at, feedback that we got from the audit, I would really like to consider the option of increasing our services by adding a 12-1-1 program to our 6th to 8th grade middle school level there. So I had a chance to kind of look through things, and we're shifting upward a little bit. So our projections, we do have more students going into that middle school level. So looking at our programming, we kind of are a little bit in need of a shift. At this time, we don't currently have any programming for our 3rd grade students. So that's something I would like to fix so that we could consider having 3rd through 5th and then 6th through 8th, and providing those opportunities for students. So really the main goal is to, make it more cohesive, making sure that we have programming that stretches across our different grade levels, and also just keeping them in their home district and meeting their needs. I think I was really happy to see, you know, one of the goals was that we were going to make sure all students felt a sense of belonging in their home schools. So, so I just think that would be great if we could expand that and you know, reach out and really support the students as best as we can. And I know Chris can speak a little bit more on the financial side of things.
You guys should see this on your table when you guys came in. You take a look at the bottom section. That is actually exactly what Mallory was talking about. So the anticipated in creation of the 6, 7, 8 class 1211. You see the staff expense on the side. So this was actually taking an average of the TA and teacher's salary. So the expense for running that room for Fort Edward would cost about $86,000. However, with a conservative projection, taking the in-district students about 4, that would be what we would stabilize. And the out-of-district students that we're anticipating at least a minimum of 2 out-of-district students. You look at the minimum of what the savings could be. The lowest amount usually for the special education student would be about $30,000, and it runs up to over $56,000. So taking the low end of the $30,000, keeping 4 in-district students would save our district $120,000 because we would send them out to a prospect, to a BOCES. We would keep them in-house here. And then the estimated revenue for 2 students coming in would be about $60,000. So you see on the bottom, I highlighted actually the surplus to our budget would be $94,000. So although it would cost $86,000 to run, we would make in essence $94,000. And this is not the first time we've done it. Last year, because of Phyllis's class, I just want to remind you, we did this already, and we've had a very successful classroom. Obviously, we're trying to use that success and build upon it. Mallory will also be reaching out to other local school districts to actually bring students in, so that too will probably significantly increase. Not to gigantic 1211, but we are trying to keep it so it's at least an initial program, so it has success, but also funding, it being a self-funding classroom.
And this is just the early idea phases of it. We wanted to just get your feedback and input on it before. But, I mean, one of the things that we really want to do is reach out to just try to gauge an interest of how many local school districts are interested in this option. So I really do plan to work with, you know, our special ed teachers to come up with an actual formal application process that can be streamlined, where we are able to, you know, review the applications. And I'd really like to get the opportunity to, you know, have the special ed teachers go in and maybe observe those students in their home district, but just to have something set in stone that, you know, this is our process, and hopefully we'll have our continuum built by then so that we can easily point to our programs and determine if outside students, if their needs would fit our programming. So.
Just to piggyback on that, you know, obviously we're looking for your reactions, and we don't need them tonight, you should let them think about it. But if this does go, you know, we'll obviously be petitioning you for an additional staff member and an additional TA to do that. But I will caution all of us in the room, you know, the reason why our current program that Joyce created is thriving is because of, you know, Mrs. Phyllis Cleveland, who is an outstanding special ed teacher and has been able to do some wonderful things with those kids. So what I'm saying is that I hope we can get another Mrs. Cleveland to come in and run that 6, 7, and 8. But as I told you earlier in my report, we have already posted for a special ed position with no applicants as of now. So either we are going to have to be knocking on some doors of teachers we know in other districts and obviously not paying step 1, or we may not find anybody. We'll have to go into a different direction. So.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Very well, we saw him today. Yeah, and I keep having to tell him he cannot come back. Until the doctor clears it. I'll come back to the doctor.
He went to the
Yes. Yeah, yes, he did. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay. So we're at discussion items. This is more for the public's consumption. But we do have a board member resigning at the end of this term. My term is up, my decade is up. So there are two seats open come May. And I believe, Casey, we have a few others, right?
We actually have 5 seats open. So
There's
your
5
term
seats
is
open.
up, Tim's term is up, and then we have the seat that was left by Amanda originally, the seat that was left by Christina originally, and then our newest resignation as of the end of this term with
Right. So, yeah, so we went from a 9-person board to a 7-person board, escalated that timeline with a resignation a year ago. So now we find ourselves with my term up, a member who's leaving a term early, 1 year early. We have those 2 seats that you guys were appointed to, that whenever you appoint anyone to the board, they are up for re-election, next election. And Tim is fine. No, Tim took over a part of that term.
Yes. So his is up as well.
I had not realized that. Wow.
It is a big year.
It's up. So, Tim, we're just talking about seats that are coming up for election. We have 5.
Yeah.
So, I hope that some incumbent members are going to be up for their seats, because that would be awesome. Some continuity on the board, it's very important for board to do some continuity. Some folks who've been around for a while, I think we can, come in July. So we need some continuity in the board, so I encourage you guys to vote for seats. And I also encourage the public, but I encourage the public to please be thinking about service. It's very rewarding, very trying at times, but you know, it really can make an impact on our community and our children by serving on this board. It's been a very rewarding experience for me, and I encourage everyone who's really interested in making this place a better place to get your petition signed. 25 signatures, and I will put your name in. I'm sure Casey will publish all those significant dates on our website. But you know, we can use some good folks to step up in May. That's my spiel. Next up,
Which meeting invitations do we have, Mrs. Ferguson?
So I just wanted to put this out for some of the things that I'd already sent you guys in an email, just to see if anybody was interested, if you wanted me to register you. So March 21st is the ASBA's advocacy and budget meeting. All of the meetings that I'm referring to also include dinner. So March 21st is ASBA advocacy and budget. April 10th is BOCES annual meeting of the component school districts. And then May 16th is ASBA's annual Student Community Service Award. One of our students receives an award through that each year. That student has yet to be determined. But those are the 3, so I just wanted to see if you wanted me to get you registered for those.
I checked my dance card, I'm not available, unfortunately. I can tell you that they're all really great meetings, especially the service center. It's really fantastic. Seriously, really fantastic. But yeah, so you guys just sort of go on with these, but these are done. They did this really good.
Yeah.
On to policy readings. Need a motion to approve the second reading of policy 5661, which is the wellness policy. Need a motion. Audrey?
Second.
Tim? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So it is good. And this one, 9-0, workplace violence prevention. We're good to go with that, right? So I need a motion.
Motion.
Tim? Sarah? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Good. Passing those guys. Okay, on to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion for A, B, C, E, F? Ella? Discussion?
Aye.
Can you get a motion